Good morning. Well, we come to look at this whole idea of the tabernacle and the sacrifices being offered. And we come as well to examine the priesthood who was appointed to offer the sacrifices. They were trained for this purpose. There was Aaron, who was the brother of Moses. He was the chief high priest. And then his sons below him. And then below them they had all the Levites, the whole tribe of Levi, who were there to help them and assist them in different ways. These are the people who were appointed by their different families when it came for the tabernacle moving. These are the people who packed up everything, knew exactly how it all worked, took it all down, wrapped it all up, took it to the next place, set it up again. These are people appointed for this particular purpose. But you see, because they were working for the temple, well, they didn't have much time to look after themselves or grow their own food or do their own shepherding or look after their own animals. And God instructs the people that this particular tribe, the tribe of Levi, and the Aaron and his sons and the other priests, they should be supported from the sacrifices which were being made. And as you read through Leviticus, you find that certain parts of the sacrifice, not necessarily the one of burnt offering and not the one of the guilt offering, but the other offerings, that part of the sacrifice was taken and waved. In other words, it was presented before the altar, waved before the altar, and then given to the priests so they would have food and they could be cared for as well. One of the things which happens in the temple began to run down was that the priests were not catered for in this particular way. And over again, the prophets say, you must release the priests in order that they can minister properly in this way. This is part of God's plan. Now, people often wonder about those of us who are ordained to the priesthood and those of us who minister in God's name. But God does instruct his people that those who minister in this particular way should be cared for and should be looked after from the resources of the people they're ministering to. That's the way the thing works. That's how it all fits together. But somehow, when the church starts to run down and their understanding of God becomes less and less, suddenly it is the ministers and the priests who are neglected in this. You know, when Jesus started his ministry, he gathered around him 12 men. He couldn't actually have been called a rabbi unless he had 12 men. See, the idea behind it is that the whole 12 would tithe their income. They would give the 10th. From 10 of them, the rabbi would receive a 10th of what they had earned. So he was, in fact, at exactly the same average level as the people he was ministering to. And then the other two, well, their tithe as well would go towards his ministry. So, in fact, he'd have these 12 men, the 12 of them would be tithing. He would have an income the same as them, and then he would be set free to minister to their needs. If you look at the church at the present day, you find that this is not happening. And this worries me. See, it doesn't affect me, so I can speak about it quite clearly. When I was ordained, I was offered a wage and I was offered a house in order that I could go into a parish and I could minister to the people there without having to worry about where my money was coming from. But these days, the church has got itself into an thought pattern that says that people who are called by God find this call so powerful that they have to obey it. And because the call is so powerful, we don't have to pay them. We don't have to release any resources for them. They're called non-stipendiary clergy. But the result is that they are all the time left in a situation where they have to be wondering where their income's coming from, how they're going to live, how they're going to supply the needs of their families, how they're going to be able to live and be supported in this world. Or, says the church, well, in that case, you'll have to go out into the world and get another job. Get another job to earn some bit of money. You can work 2 or 3 days with the church, and you can work 3 or 4 days in the world. But you see, that means that the whole process of ministry breaks down. Because one of the essential things about the ministers and the priests ministering in the church is that it takes an enormous amount of time and prayer and preparation and pastor and covering to be able to minister to the people in your care. So I want to leave you with this idea now as well. When God set up the tabernacle, when he set up the sacrifices, he also told the people how they were to support the clergy, that part of the sacrifice that they were offering would go to them, so they would not have to worry about where their money and their possessions are coming from. And with this, they were then set free to minister to the people. It's something, I think, which as a church we have to think about very carefully at the moment and wonder about the way we relate to those in ministry. And I ask you simply to pray about it and to think about it wherever you're living. Amen.